I'm Rena Hallam. I'm faculty in early childhood at the University of Delaware, but I'm also director of a QRIS, which is challenging based on the presentations that my colleagues have just given. And so my job today is to take about a few minutes, 5 minutes or so, to think about and reflect on what should the next phase look like in relationship to QRIS. And so these are just my reflections based on some of this data, but also my experience as director. And I have 3 key points, and I'll talk a little bit about each of those. And I think we can extract a lot of information from these 3 presentations in relationship to these 3 points as well. The first one is that I believe we need a lot more conversation and thought about what is the purpose of a QRIS, and based on that, what structure should actually be in place to support program quality and quality improvement. I also want to talk a little bit about QRS as a mechanism to address general quality issues and the potential for the QRS to use a diagnostic approach for more nuanced supports. I have diagnostics in quotes because I want to give Catherine Tout credit because she gave me that word yesterday. I've been thinking in that way, but I didn't have the word, so that's Catherine's word. And also the idea that QRS is a mechanism to engage programs in iterative quality improvement processes, or this ongoing continuous quality improvement, and the potentials there. So the first question, is it the R or is it the I? I don't know. I'm not sure we as states know. We spend enormous amount of resources on the rating. And I'm not sure we have it right. Based on your presentation, I think maybe we don't. We spend a lot of resources on the observational rating, but also on the document review and all of the other standards. We spend enormous time trying to figure out how to aggregate those in a way that makes sense, and then we kind of arbitrarily put those at star levels. And so I think we need a lot more attention to the rating. And that rating piece is based on the fact that we're getting to use the QRS as an accountability mechanism. Is that what we want to be doing? I know in our state we've linked, tiered reimbursement, and many other states are starting to do that. The R, we spend a lot more time on the R than the I on most of our work, but given the data that we have, should we be thinking more about the I? Or are we both? And if we are in fact both, can we do both well? So I just think, I don't have the answer to that, but I think that's really a point of discussion for more iterations in QRIS. And depending on that discussion, I think we really need to talk more about the structural model of the QRIS. And so there are three models out there right now as we're kind of in this experimentation phase. We have building blocks, points, and hybrid. Those models, programs experience those models very differently. I know from our work just in Delaware, we've just completed a mixed method study on our redesign from building blocks to points. And the point system programs move faster. They feel better about it. They're a little bit more engaged just based on our experience. And so that's a different impact on them than coming into a program and not moving, for example. And so really thinking about how the structure of the system impacts programs. And then finally, more focused thought about the quality improvement efforts that are in QRS. We've heard a lot about coaching. We also have a lot of financial incentives linked into the QRS. And again, I mentioned tiered reimbursement, but these financial incentives are opportunities for professionalization, increased wages for staff. We have very little study on in QRS how those financial incentives actually affect program quality. So I think we need more focus there. Okay, maybe the QRS can be helpful because we can think of it as building the foundation for quality programming. So much of the coaching work we've heard about and the professional development we've heard about at this meeting has been kind of higher level coaching processes. And I think most folks who've been involved in that kind of work can talk about the variation in quality when you go into those different programs and what are those classroom characteristics and side effects that are there that may impact the effects of that intervention. QRS it's possible that we could use QRS to address some of those very basic elements of quality, and that we can integrate state TA to do that. And so this is I don't know if you can see that very well. I don't think you can see that very well. And maybe that's okay because we just made this up like a few weeks ago, so it's probably okay if you can't see it. But the idea is that we in Delaware Stars in our QRS model, we do have technical assistants. We have about a 30-to-1 ratio staff TAs to programs. Programs get visited about twice a month, and we have been collecting data on the types of technical assistance that we're doing, and it seems to fall into kind of three categories. The bottom area here, and I don't know if the words are right yet. Again, this is kind of a work in process. These fundamental practices. We have programs who are struggling to maintain licensing, and I think many states have that. I know we have different licensing regulations across our states, but we think of licensing as the floor, and we have programs who are coming in the QRS. We're actually targeting to come in the QRS. We want them in the QRS, but they're really struggling to just keep it together to maintain their licensing standards. And this mid-level really is where we're most prepared to provide technical assistance, and our technical assistance efforts are focused on daily interactions, program management, routines and activities, schedules, those types of things. The bulk of our programs in Delaware STARS are here. That's like a star 3, we think. And then these higher level practices, which are reflective of more intentionality, curriculum assessment, reflective supervision. And again, I'm thinking about this with the program being the unit of analysis and not just the classroom. And so I think it's possible in our QRIS systems building to think that programs come in at different places and to drive technical assistance relative to those places. Maybe this links up to star ratings, maybe it doesn't. I think maybe it should, but it might be a way to better use our resources. So in fact, where does a program enter? And what types of TA do they need to move to the next level, realizing that there may be triggers that move across those levels. Something to think about. And then finally, QRS is a mechanism to support continuous quality improvement across sectors. Across our states, some states have just focused on community-based child care. Most of us who are involved in early learning challenge work, in Delaware we are, the focus is really on cross-sector work and bringing in public school pre-K, Head Starts, and other types of programs. And so I do think that having a common set of standards in a state provides the opportunity for us to develop a common language across program type, a common focus, and to integrate our resources to be more effective. So how are we doing that in our systems building of QRS? Are we actually bringing in sectors in a way that creates that common language and that common collaboration, or are we in fact just bringing them in and then creating, supporting that separation? The QRS operates at the program level mostly. Meaning that we do classroom observations, many of us do, as part of our rating, but the rating is at the program level. So, we could just talk a lot about that, and there's some issues there. But we have an opportunity to intervene and understand those program characteristics. And so, thinking about how we could use QRS, the standards, our technical assistance to support that. And then finally, even though I think I've identified a lot of issues or concerns or challenges for us to think about, I do think that there's a lot of opportunity here. We have a statewide framework that in many states has been reasonably successful in engaging community-based child care in particular. So it's a statewide framework to be able to do that and to bring them on board and involved in continuous quality improvement. Now I think we just need to think more deeply about how to do that in a way that makes sense given where we are with our science.